Subscribe to our YouTube channel and don't forget to press the bell icon to get all the latest updates. This, and I've seen many such letters in the course of my life as a journalist, when those who have retired from government often make policy interventions, but this is a very, very strongly worded letter. It calls the Prime Minister's silence on the recent clashes that have taken place in different parts of India deafening. Mr. Ribeiro, what made you sign this letter and endorse these words? Because the BJP might well make the argument that the Prime Minister is the head of the country and he should not be speaking on localized religious clashes in scattered places of North India. So, what made you feel so strongly as you have in this letter?
I think that there should be many more voices raised against what is happening today, because it's very frightening, and we cannot live in a country where such uh, in an atmosphere where such hate is being spread, and such plans are afoot where organized hate and violence is being unleashed with the obvious knowledge of the authorities, because 7 or 8 states the same pattern was seen, and that same pattern would not have happened, would not have been noticed unless there was a central direction. And it was quite obvious to a practiced eye who has worked in the police for years, and even our intelligence agencies, that there has been some sort of central direction. Now, if there is, and I'm quite sure there is, there's going to be a lot of problems in this country. And of course, the idea of India that this regime has is quite different from the idea that the previous regimes had. And we had worked under the previous regime. So I suppose there would be some difference, but not to this extent, where the governments itself are responsible for fomenting communal trouble. I worked for years in the police and have dealt with this type of problem for a very long time. And I've never seen a case where the government in power would foment trouble like this, because for the simple reason that they are responsible for maintaining law and order, and if any disturbance to the law and order reflects on them, and they are supposed to answer it in parliament and in the assemblies, and
Yes.
there's a lot of noise and hullabaloo when such things happen. And
Sir, put to you what some of the counter arguments that have come from supporters of the BJP may be to what you've said. You have been a decorated, gallant police officer who has served, inspired so many of us with your service. The role of the police has come under scrutiny, and I want you to talk about that before you talk about the role of politics. Two things have happened in Khargone, in Madhya Pradesh, and in Delhi. We've actually seen police officers themselves injured. Right, we have in fact seen bullet injuries to a superintendent of police in Madhya Pradesh, and we have seen a police officer in the capital as well being injured. The police might argue that this demonstrates that the pushback is more severe, that you are being simple minded. What would you say about the fact that the police too has suffered in these clashes?
they have suffered is obviously is going to happen, because when you unleash violence of this type, you're bound to have a reaction. And in this particular case, I have a feeling, at least in Delhi, from what I've seen on the television, that this knowledge was given to the opponents, to the Muslim minority, that there is going to be trouble around that area. I mean, they would not have normally expected, because I have not heard, at least in my whole career, of processions being taken out on the occasion of Ram Navami or Hanuman Jayanti. So they may not have known about it unless they were more or less given an indication. Because if they are given an indication that they will gather to protect themselves, and that is probably what happened. from what I've seen on the television, it looks to me that they were they were made to react, and they wanted that reaction so that they could finally put the blame on them. And this is a common tactic, or which we see nowadays. And so, I
But if you
personally,
see the images, sir, just one last question to you and then I'll open it up. If you see the images from Delhi, for example, in Jahangir Puri, both the groups, the Shobha Yatra that is taken out without police permission, again raising questions as to why that happened, and the Muslim groups that you're now seeing in these pictures, and can we also play the Shobha Yatra, they're armed. You can see swords in the hands of the Muslim groups. You can see rods and sticks and bricks, in the hands of in the Hindu groups. You see both of these groups armed. So how do you take a look at that? How do you respond to that?
you know, I've seen in my experience of so many years, and I've gone through many communal riots, that usually the Muslims are on the defensive. After all, they are a minority, and numbers do count, and they are overpowered finally. And that is going to be the final result of all this. But uh, they will protest, they will protect themselves, they'll protect their women folk, they'll protect their um, property, etc. Finally, they will lose. There's no doubt, because numbers are so daunting. But defense is always organized. That I have seen in my experience, and you have to expect that, because nobody is going to lie down and say, "All right, kill me." That's only the martyrs who do that.
Mr. Ribeiro, the allegation, of course, by those who are advocates or supporters or voters of the government, and in Sandeep's case, an admirer of the Prime Minister, is that your outrage and the outrage of your former sort of your fellow signatories is selective. It is basically rooted in your inherent dislike for Mr. Modi. How would you respond to that, Mr. Ribeiro?
I am not no inherent dislike for Mr. Modi. There's no question about any inherent dislike. I mean, I can tell you that if he does some good work, and which I appreciate, I'm prepared to appreciate it. And I have done it in the past, and I can show you many instances of that. So there's no question of just. But if there's something done which is going to destroy the very fabric of this country, well, I think that I should be allowed to speak up like anyone else.
Yes.
I'm very worried about it. I mean, after all, this is our country. Our ancestors also are born here, and they've come along with Mr. Modi's ancestors. There's no question of anybody trying to uh, just belittle him. There are times when I've seen some criticism of some of the things that have happened. For example, during the COVID, which I don't agree with. And when I don't agree, I say so. I mean, I don't agree that Mr. Modi failed where as COVID is concerned. I think he did a great job, if you ask me. In the beginning, everybody was puzzled. I mean, all countries were puzzled. It's something that had never happened before. So when he does something good, I'm prepared to say so.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.